Hello everyone, welcome to Healthy Kitchens, Healthy Lives. This is our spring edition of the class, and I'm super excited to have a guest today. Let's welcome Elizabeth.
Hello everyone.
Elizabeth is the first person, or one of the first people that you'll see when you come into the clinic, and she is the backbone of the clinic in my mind. She holds us all together every day. So glad to have you here, and
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
oh, absolutely. And just jump in anytime with questions that you have, because sometimes when I'm cooking, I know what I'm doing, but I don't realize other people don't know.
True.
So if you're thinking, or you may know, but you may think somebody else may not know this, I'll just ask the question. That'd be fine. So she's just going to be my super prep person as we go through. What we're making today, as you can see on the assortment of food laid out on the table, is colorful and vibrant and fragrant, which that part I'm sorry you can't get a smell of, but we have fresh oregano here and fresh garlic. And we're making a dish called Cauliflower Bolognese. We were all just practicing how to say that. It's Italian. I speak a little Spanish. Elizabeth
Very
is
good Spanish.
very
Yes.
good at Spanish. And there's a similarity between the two languages. So this is a dish that is traditionally made in Italy. It comes out of the city of Bologna. And I also want to say I worked hard on saying that name properly.
You did perfect.
Just because I called my dear friend who's Italian, and I asked him, before, I didn't even ask him how it was, I said, hey, how do you say city of Bologna? And he corrected me. So this is a dish that comes out of that region of Italy, and it's traditionally made with meat. And we're gonna shift it and kind of turn it upside down and make it all plant-based. And the meats that are usually used in this dish are veal, veal, chicken, or pork, and or a combination of those three. So what we're gonna do instead of the meat is we're gonna use cauliflower.
Perfect.
And as you guys know, cauliflower is the new rave. It's kind of the new kale, if you will. And I ended up buying this organic cauliflower head, and then I did this beautiful chop job in my food processor. So I do recommend that you either buy it already frozen and pearled or riced. If they say in the recipe to grate it, I personally don't have the patience for that. I'm not sure if you guys do, but this worked really well. And then I used the food processor to make everything else in the recipe too. I threw in the breadcrumbs, which we're going to add. These are gluten-free, and they come from this particular, it's called Little Northern Bakehouse. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll crumple up in there. And this is a millet chia brand. This bread is, I call it an occasional bread because it does have some sugar added to it, and it is a processed food. But we need the texture in this dish. And it's one of the better of the gluten-free breads because it's also egg-free. So if you're looking to remove, a lot of times people who are removing gluten are also removing egg. So this is a good option, and they have a variety of flavors. It's in the refrigerated section at Sprouts. So if you want to look for that there. And then I also grated the walnuts. So these were just whole raw walnuts. So see how beautiful that, I mean, there's no human that could make this that perfect. Probably, at least I don't know who that person is. So once I took out the food processor, I just put everything through it, and it made it super simple and super easy. Because as you know, I know you cook too, texture is everything.
Yes.
And if you get a huge chunk of walnut, it throws the whole dish off.
Right.
And sometimes people will only eat food if it's a certain texture, like avocado. Some people will not eat just a sliced avocado, but they love guacamole.
Right.
Sure. I love avocado any which way, but
But not everybody does. That's true.
yeah, exactly. So in this dish, we're striving for consistency and how things are put together. So let's go ahead and start cooking. And as we cook, I'm going to have Elizabeth run the stove. Okay. So we'll switch spots. And then I get to talk and share and hopefully inspire you guys to do more. One thing I do want to, before we start, I said we were starting, but hold on one second, is I wanted to make an announcement. We are starting a brand new thing here at Lifescape based on a conference that Dr. Wilder and I went to in February. And the conference was at the Culinary Institute of America, and they had 3 fabulous days focused on bringing healthy kitchens into people's practices and helping them understand the mechanics of it and the logistics of it so that we can basically transform the science of what we're talking about into the art of it or the food. And so I took that to heart, and I've been working closely with marketing, and we are creating an online community called Healthy Kitchens, Healthy You Club. And it's going to be a membership club. You can join and receive all kinds of super benefits. So all of the tips and tricks and little hacks that I give you in the show, we're going to actually organize into sections. We're going to talk about the best way to procure food, good sources to go find it, how to select produce, what spices to use, what are the best cooking utensils, what are some cool gadgets, things like this that you may or may not have seen before. We're going to have a community where there's a conversation possible between community members where they can post and share, and I can answer questions. So it's going to be really robust.
So everyone's going to get involved.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be on the Lifescape webpage. It's going to have its own section, and there'll be a password to get in. So it's a nice exclusive community. So I just wanted you guys to know that's coming. We're working on it. It's getting ready to roll out, and we'll have more of this to share moving forward. So with that being said, this is an induction cooktop, means that it gets hot really fast. Excuse me. And what we're going to do is drop the cauliflower in. Once it's warmed up, just a smidge more. We're not going to add any oil right away because the oil might make it soggy. So what we're looking to do is brown the cauliflower, and Elizabeth will add oil as needed because we don't want it to stick and burn to the pot either. So you're going to be sort of monitoring that piece, and you can use this spatula, there you go, to help that process along. And while she's doing that, I want to talk about the cauliflower as the super nutrient that it is, or the superfood that it is, and some of the reasons why. So the big thing about cauliflower is that for most people, it's a great substitute for grains and legumes. So it's really big in the keto world because obviously people are working to reduce carbohydrates down to 25 or 30 grams of net carbs a day, which is actually really hard to do. It's not just cutting out bread, crackers, and bagels, but even certain vegetables. Everything starts becoming more complicated. We're not doing a keto dish here, but cauliflower is commonly used to replace those grains, and especially refined flour-based grains that do raise blood sugar and cause people to have trouble with weight. So this is a high fiber vitamin, and it's an insoluble fiber. It's part of the group of cruciferous vegetables. And what's really cool to know about that is that it's one of the best sources of sulforaphane, and sulforaphane is only found in the cruciferous family. The reason that's so exciting is because sulforaphane is a phytonutrient. You may have heard that word before. And phytonutrients help fight inflammation. And each phytonutrient has a different color to it. So the colors provide us with a different array of benefits. And the inflammation then, as an anti-inflammatory food, helps us reduce our risk of cancer, of diabetes, of cardiovascular disease, and it improves our digestion. So it helps us with better bowel motility and removing toxins from the body. So right there, if that's not enough reason to eat cauliflower, let me know. So here we go, just getting started. Also, keeping in mind that cauliflower is rich in antioxidants, and the that's one of the top antioxidants in cauliflower is vitamin C. We always think of vitamin C as coming from strawberries, oranges. Maybe people think of it as coming from broccoli. And those are all actually good sources. But you don't have to eat fruit necessarily to get vitamin C. You can get it from cauliflower as well. And this is actually giving us 100% of the RDA, vitamin C, which is good. The other thing that's great about this from a plant-centric profile is that the cauliflower is rich in the nutrient choline, and choline is a precursor for the body to make acetylcholine, which is very important in terms of developing neurotransmitters, and those help with memory and also with muscle movement. So choline is a super essential nutrient, and it's hard to get in the diet. I do find a lot of our patients come up borderline low or deficient in choline when we do micronutrient panels. So because so many people are cutting out eggs, which is a really good source of choline, so you can use the cauliflower to come back up. Okay, I'm just going to bump the heat up just a smidge because it sounds like it stopped being as sizzly. And Elizabeth is tending to that perfectly. So what I want to just take a second to talk about what it means to eat a plant-based diet, because I have so many patients that are thinking about that as a healthy way to go, and yet they're super concerned because they don't want to give up 100% all animal protein. So I want to just clarify that a plant-based diet does not mean that you can't have animal protein. It means that you need to modify it to meet your own needs. So that really comes down to, what does functional medicine mean ultimately? Well, it means personalization. So what's good for me and what's good for Elizabeth may be completely different because we're completely different bodies. We're both women, obviously, but our biochemistry is different and unique to each one of us. So this dish may be fantastic for both of us, or too much of it may not be fantastic for her. Just depends, right? You know how it works. So if you personalize your diet, you will find that your results are better than if you try to follow something on the internet that influencers are recommending. For example, I have some patients who said, well, I'm doing this and this. And I said, well, why are you doing that? Well, there's an influencer on Instagram. And I'm not trying to, be negative about that, but it's just difficult because they're promoting something based on the desire to become more popular, not necessarily because that thing that they're talking about is good for everyone all the time. And we tend to like to move in groups, and that's not always the best. So I'm going to bump up the heat again because it's going really slow. So you can see how it's important that the cauliflower is in really small parts, because otherwise it would really have a hard time cooking. And as you can see, it's starting to, the water, it's changing colors, the water's coming down, and it's not sticking because Elizabeth's doing a great job with stirring it up.
Not sticking at all.
So some of the other ingredients that we're going to add today that we talked about are, we're going to use fresh garlic. And while she's doing that, I'm just going to demonstrate. We have the clove, and then over here, this is one of my favorite kitchen tools. It's a garlic roll, and it's well used, as you can see from earlier today. And so I just stick the clove in there, whole. It's in the middle, and I just apply a little bit of pressure, and then drop it out, and the skin sticks inside, and the clove is completely ready for use. And one of the nice things about this is that it really encourages you to use fresh garlic and not buy it in a jar, because the potency goes down, and a lot of times when it's in a jar, it's preserved, which means there's some kind of a chemical added to it. So the more we can get away from chemicals, the better, and that's really kind of the crux of a plant-based diet, is whole food. So this would be a perfect example of how easy it is to do that. And there's even devices, I don't have one, but that you can actually put the clove in and twist it, and it crushes it for you. So all you would need is that one tube. and you've got fresh garlic, and we all know fresh garlic makes the dish.
It's the best.
I mean, don't go short on that, you guys. Go long. Make the effort. Exactly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to swap with Elizabeth. And one more thing is I wanted to show another little gadget while we're talking about it. If any of you guys have seen this, it's a can opener. It looks like, what? How would that work? Well, the beauty of it is basically, and I saved this for you, is when you have the lid on the can, you lock it in like this, and then you turn it around, and it opens the can from the outside so that there's no sharp edges. Isn't that cool?
That's
So you
cool.
don't end up having to cut yourself, or when you throw it in your recycle and you're emptying out your recycle bin and you get caught. Not fun.
Mm-hmm.
So this makes it really clean and safe, and it comes off easily. So, and it's a fun little workout on your wrist. So you can find these in all kinds of kitchenware stores. And that's a good example of what we're going to be including in our Healthy Kitchen, Healthy You Club, is things like this. You know, where do you find good gadgets? How do you make working in the kitchen more efficient and more fun? So that's where we're going to go. So I'm going to switch with Elizabeth and have her cross over. And she's going to make zoodles. So this is the other part that, forgive me all the diehard Italians out there. I know you love your pasta, but I just want to demonstrate some different ways of doing things. And the zoodle, as you guys know that term, is a noodle made from zucchini. And so you can buy these spiralizers anywhere. Amazon is obviously an easy choice, but I'm sure they have them at Target, kitchen stores, anything like that. So if you're interested, they're not expensive and they are really fun. Is it moving around? So you have to make sure that, there we go. Okay, and we also need to make some room.
Hold on to this. There you go.
So as Elizabeth is doing this, you can see, this is the blade that I put in there is angel hair, for angel hair pasta. You can put almost anything through here that's hard enough, so you can do carrots, you can do butternut squash, you can do sweet potatoes. And this is a really nice way to get kids to eat vegetables, because they can do the zoodling, and they usually find it really fun and interesting and engaging, and then they want to eat the food afterwards. And I'm going to tell you guys, there's so many nights when I do this, I'm adding a little bit of olive oil to the pan now because it's getting warm enough that we don't want it to stick. And there's so many nights when I will make zoodles instead of regular pasta, even gluten-free pasta, just because it's faster. It's actually faster to run the zucchini through the spiralizer and then throw it in a hot pan with a little bit of oil and garlic and a pinch of pink salt, and saute the noodles for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then you can top with your favorite sauce. So I don't know any pot of water that can boil in 2 minutes and also cook in 2 minutes. So it's fine to have those pastas. There's some really yummy alternative pastas out there made from red lentils and garbanzo beans and edamame. In fact, I brought one that I wanted to show you guys. This is not part of today's recipe, but this is a brand that I've been enjoying. It's called Explore Cuisine, and it's an organic edamame spaghetti. I made this the other night with cauliflower and sun-dried tomatoes and fresh lime, and it was to die for. So there's this brand and other brands. If you're interested as alternative pastas, that might be something you can look into. If you want to use the regular wheat pasta, that's fine. Just keep in mind that not everybody tolerates wheat and gluten, so it's nice to have alternatives. And we've got a nice browning going on here. One of the things I've learned from my good Italian friend is that making Italian sauce, really good sauce takes time. And so this would be something that would be worth making in batches so that you could store it because you want to take the time to do it right. And then have it to go back to later. So you can tell my spider lighter is well used because it's squeaking. I think it's time for a new spider lighter. I love this device so much. It's one of the best kitchen accessories that I could recommend. It's really fun. It's easy. It reminds me of how important it is to play in the kitchen and have good energy when you're cooking so that your food tastes good and comes back the same way. Okay, we finally got the cauliflower to a point that I feel good about it. And so now we're going to add the walnuts. So we looked at those earlier today. And I've already got these pre-measured, so I'm adding those in. You can use other kinds of nuts too. If you want to use almonds, that's fine. I think the recipe talks about a few different nuts as possibilities. And just remember that recipes are suggestions. They're not made in stone. Like you don't have to have the recipe exactly as it is listed. Because it's for you, it's your taste and your preference, and it's also maybe what you have on hand. So part of what's great about cooking is using up food that's in the house so that so things don't go to waste. I love opening up my refrigerator and just taking out a variety of different foods and then thinking about how can I put these together. Do you like to do that, Elizabeth?
Yes, I sure do. That's just, you go in there and you find something and you say, okay, what can we make out of this?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel good about that for
like
now.
pasta.
I know, isn't that amazing?
It
See how
is.
it's in
Look at
long
this.
curly strands?
Delicious.
I love it.
Yeah, and I have to tell you guys, when you eat this as your alternative pasta, you feel fantastic. Sometimes when you eat a big plate of real pasta, wheat-based pasta, you can leave feeling heavy and like you had too much starch and too much fiber, or not fiber, but too much flour. And you've got a ball of flour sitting in you. This won't do that. This is going to energize you. And really, when you eat good food and you feel energized, then you know it's the right thing for your body. Our bodies tell us. They're usually really wise. We just don't always like to listen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the kicker.
We never listen.
We never listen. Yeah. So then I'm going to add in here the fresh garlic. And let that saute a little bit. And here, Elizabeth, you can use this if you would like for your hands. So she did all of that in no time flat. There's 4 or 5 big zucchinis in there.
I know that was fast.
And if any of you have gardens and you grow zucchini, you have an abundance of them, this is a really good way to use it.
Yes.
Because I can tell you, I can eat two zucchinis all by myself, no problem, when they're made into zoodles. Okay.
Cauliflower, that looks amazing.
Doesn't this look good? So it's browned, it smells good.
Oh, it smells great.
It's fragrant. And so now we're gonna, if you zoom in here for a second, you can see how the bottom is a little bit sticky, that it's kind of getting a glaze on it. So we're gonna introduce some white wine. And yeah, I know. I don't drink wine myself, which is why I'm getting that look. But we're going to cook all the alcohol out of the dish. So I just put a splash in, and that moisture is going to help deglaze the bottom of the pan, hopefully all the way. Look at pretty good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's okay. Don't worry about it getting sticky and using too much oil, because that makes the cauliflower soggy. So you know that you've got white wine to the rescue.
And it's delicious.
And it's delicious. So it gives a nice flavor. And this is true with a lot of Italian cooking, is having many layers of flavor in a dish. And I think that's true of any good recipe.
So good.
Isn't that good? We're gonna make the whole office salivate. I'm gonna have everybody knocking on the door here. What's cooking in the back? Have you noticed when you're cooking at home that if you have company over, everybody ends up standing around the kitchen
Mhm.
and talking and having, you know, a beverage and visiting and snacking, and kitchens just bring people together. It's really important that we
It's
have
where
that
the home is.
connection. Yeah, exactly. Elizabeth, I'm going to switch again and have you take over your fantastic stirring job. And now what we can do, I'm going to bump the heat up just a smidge again, is we're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. So this is just a pink sea salt, Himalayan salt, except to be exact. And I learned from the chefs, you're supposed to put it in your hand first so you can see how much is going into the dish. I didn't used to do that, but at the CIA they taught us. They had a session, and it was a hands-on cooking class, and the instructor went up to one of the people in my participant group, and she said, okay, can you add the salt? And the lady went like this to dump it in, and she goes, wait a minute, how are you going to know how much is in there? And we all went, you're right. And she goes, and you can't take salt away.
So true.
Right?
Yeah.
So now that's why chefs put salt in little cute dishes, and they pinch it. It looks really cool.
Right.
I thought it was just about being cool, but it actually has a reason.
There is a purpose.
There's a purpose. And then black pepper, this I'm just going to add straight in because I don't think we're going to overdo it like we can with salt. So this is just an organic black pepper. You can get the kind where you have a pepper mill and you crush it and grind it in. That's fantastic. If you want to do that, that's fine too. So now she's going along there. We're going to add, I can't remember if the recipe says to go breadcrumbs first or sauce. We'll just take a quick peek and check it out. And it says deglaze, add sauce and breadcrumbs at the same time. Okay, I think we've had enough time for the alcohol to cook off. It sure smells good.
Smells delicious.
So I'm just going to add the tomato sauce, and this is just a basic Miraglen. I like this brand because they don't add any sugar to their tomato products. And so I'm just going to drizzle this in as she stirs. Elizabeth, you need to be part of my household forever. Because I never get help in the kitchen. And it's actually more fun.
That is for sure.
Yeah. And kudos to our camera woman.
Oh, thanks.
Definitely.
Yeah, giving us all these great shots. So it says to add 3 cups. And I'm going to add about that. And then we'll just keep this to the side. And I always encourage you to have a little extra of all your ingredients. Because you may find that, hey, you know what, I want this a little bit thinner, I want this a little bit thicker. I use more cauliflower than the recipe suggested, so maybe we need actually more sauce, which I think we may. But remember, we want it to be like meat.
Right.
We want
Look at
it.
this. It looks just
Yeah.
like
It does look like meat.
And you're thinking about this as a ragu, essentially, if that helps you guys put it into perspective a little bit. And so this is a nice chunky thick sauce that is going to go on top of the zoodles. So then the other piece that we're going to add in is the breadcrumbs. We talked about these. These are the gluten-free millet chia breadcrumbs. And I really like millet as a whole grain itself, not milled as a flour only, because it's really versatile and it can act like white rice.
This really looks like meat.
It
Does it?
really does.
You could make this and not tell anybody.
Right?
And then see.
It
yeah.
looks like ground beef or
Ex-
something.
It really does.
Yeah, and that's why we were so careful not to get the cauliflower soggy by just browning it in the pan. But this is we come back to this whole thing of patience.
Yes.
And cooking with patience is so important. When you need to cook really fast, you're hungry, you're out of time, other people are hungry, then don't make this dish.
Right.
Make something really fast and easy. That, be like, make the zoodles and just put some pesto sauce on it or some tomato sauce and, add some mushrooms, make it simple, so that it's tasty and nourishing, but not as
It smells
involved.
delicious.
It smells so
Yeah.
good.
So then what we're going to do is give it a little taste test and see if we think that there's enough salt or flavor. Oh, actually, yeah. Then what I want to also do is we're going to add some fresh herbs. And this is chopped up fresh oregano. The recipe called for basil, which I love as well. I'm just going to be honest, I couldn't find it in the store.
Fair enough.
I should have asked my Italian friend because he and both his parents grow beautiful basil plants in their backyard.
Oh, cool.
However, they were not close by at the time. So I decided to just go ahead and use oregano because I think of that a lot when I think of Italian is oregano and basil and that kind of dishes. So I'm going to try this. Wow, that works really good. I really hope you guys make this dish at home. I'm going to also show you how much of a not wine drinker I am. This is the wine I bought. I just wanted a little like cooking supply, not a big bottle. I have no idea if this is a good wine or not because I don't drink wine.
Hey, it smells
But it was
delicious.
the right size and the right color. So you can use something like this if you don't want to open an expensive treasured bottle of wine because you're only using a small amount. And then maybe this can go for other things. But I really love, I'm going to have Elizabeth try this too so that she can give us her take on it.
Try this.
And now she's got the oregano in there as well. And remember, when you're adding fresh herbs, add them at the very last minute because they're very sensitive to heat. Ah, delicious.
Great.
We're not pretending. It's really good.
It's really good. The oregano in there is just
Yeah, isn't that nice? So I'm just gonna shut it off. And to me, like if somebody came in and they said, here's a bolognese, I would have no idea that this didn't have pork and veal and chicken in it. And there's nothing wrong with having that kind of food. Absolutely nothing. It's just that we want to introduce more plants into our diet, 5 to 7 servings a day minimum. And this is a really good way to do it.
It looks just like meat.
It really
looks like
does.
it. And there's nothing
But it
processed.
tastes amazing.
It tastes so flavorful.
Yes.
It's so, and you can see they're really simple ingredients. Nothing hard to find. Everything was easy to procure. And then what you would do is you would take your zucchini noodles and saute them, like I said, in a little olive oil with some fresh garlic and a little pinch of salt. And then you would put these together and make your dish. And then if you really wanted to, you could add some fresh grated Parmesan on top because this dish traditionally is made with milk in it. But we're keeping this 100% animal free. So I did buy this for the staff because I know they would enjoy it, so they can sprinkle some on top. So that's how it works. And if you have a friend in the kitchen, I highly recommend it. Cooking together is not only is it easier,
It's more fun.
yeah, and it also is a motivator. I know for me, and your mom, you probably know this too, you are going to cook food for your family when you're not feeling that energetic about it because you want to make sure your family's fed well.
Good.
So everyone's benefiting from being together.
Yes.
If you don't have your family around, they're off doing things, it's dinner time. You may not be as inclined to bring a whole, array of ingredients out and start cooking.
Right.
So, community makes things better.
Yes.
So thank you for being a part of our community today. And be on the lookout for some more information about the Healthy Kitchen, Healthy You Club. And we'll come back next month with another fabulous plant-based recipe. Until then, be well.